impression of the game you get out of it, what you put into it. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
But not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tomas O'Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Curry. Curry leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. There's a chance to score. He's put it high.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
Hello, and you're very welcome to episode 322 of Treaty Talk. It is myself, Tom Clancy, as ever, in the hot seat, and I'm joined once again by Matt O'Callaghan, the Weekly Observer and Vale Star newspapers. Matt, we will be coming to our football guests in a minute, but a really, really up and down week for Gaelic games in Limerick, between the hurlers losing, the 20s hurlers winning. We had the 20s footballers beaten, we had the senior footballers promoted, we had the ladies football beaten. A real roller coaster of emotions over the weekend and the last few days.
Yeah, kind of a mixed bag, you know, but you know, the positives in this particular week supersede everything else. Like the week that you reach, that you get yourself promoted at senior football, reach a national final, and then in midweek on Tuesday evening, you go to Thurles and you lower the colours of an all-star Tipperary team, who were 13 of the team that played in last year's All-Ireland final, plus 5 seniors. We'll be talking about it in greater depth later, Tom. But to me, it casts a shadow over a very positive shadow over everything else that has happened during the week, and I think it's a week to reflect on a lot of positives, Tom, real positives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think the best place to start this week for the week that's in it is football. Of course, Limerick promoted with that huge victory over Waterford at McNeville Park on Sunday, and they're now heading to the Alliance Division 4 final this Saturday evening in Croke Park. So delighted to say that we're joined by the team captain, Cillian Fahy of Drumcolor Broadford, and Jimmy Lee of Newcastle Mess. Gentlemen, you're very welcome to Treaty Talk. How are things?
Thanks, Philip.
How are you, lads? Are you good?
How are you, lads? You're very welcome.
Yeah, we're great, lads, and we're ecstatic last Sunday in McNeville Park. I know Matt was watching ladies football down the road, but the word filtered through to him anyway, and he was delighted, I'm sure, as were ye, to get promotion.
It was happening, Tom.
That's it. Jimmy, I'll come to you first. You know, last season relegation, and I suppose the steps back up. I know you spoke about it in post-match to the lads. Things didn't go maybe as planned in the first 2 games, but certainly the squad have certainly picked it up a notch or two in the last few rounds, and you know it's been an impressive set of results. You mentioned the game in Wicklow being an important draw, but they've certainly turned the corner in terms of performance and you know, probably deserving of promotion.
Yeah, to be fair to lads, look, they put in a massive effort, massive shift, Tom. But always have. Even in the bad days, they were putting in massive work and massive effort. You know, I think the 17 games, Tom, might have been in your own heads, because it definitely wasn't in the lads. The lads worked hard and continued to work hard, to be fair to them. You know, and look, Wicklow was important. That draw was important. It showed a lot of resilience in the team, the squad. We were 3 points down into injury time. Emma kicked a 2-pointer. They got up and got a score. I'm sure the rest is history because James kicked 2 frees. But it was the character that the lads had shown to go after it and not leave it after them. And that's testament to themselves.
Yeah, Cillian, for yourself as a player, Jimmy mentioned maybe the winless run there in the league in the last couple of seasons. You've been thereabouts in terms of being on the team for a lot of those days. I suppose you were hoping to get, once you got one win, things would start to roll. A victory was snatched up in Longford, then you lost to Wexford in round 2. But that victory over in London, that's probably really ignited something in the team.
Yeah, it was a massive, massive victory to get us started on the road, and I think even though we didn't get the results we wanted in the first 2 games, there was plenty of positives to take, and there was nobody in the camp thinking of those last 2 years. We've completely moved on from that. I know there was a bit of talk in the media and stuff about it, about our winless run and everything else, but I think once we came back this year, that was really put to bed at the start of the year, and everything was positive and everything was focused on a new group and really building together and going after the year. And as we said, we didn't get the results we wanted in the first 2 games, but there was enough there to take from those 2 games to really build and to put down a foundation and drive on for the rest of the year.
Jimmy, you have brought in a number of new players this year, and you had a certain leap of faith at the beginning, in which you put them in and left them in. I'd say you'd have to be very pleased with, given that you've lost so many key players over the last couple of years, and I'm talking about the like of Cian Sheehan, Brian Fanning, Brian Donovan, very, very hard players to replace. But this year you have found new talent, unearthed new talent, thrown them in, left them in, and they have proved you right.
Yeah, that's a fair enough comment, Matt. Like, a lot of the lads that have left the squad, they've left for their own reasons and gone off traveling and doing whatever they do. And I think it was Barry that said it there lately, that like once you move on, you move on. I suppose there's none of us looking out over our shoulder. We wish him well in their endeavours. Like Donald took off into his career, Sean O'D took off in his career. The lads are gone travelling. And you'll be always hopeful that they'll enjoy the travelling piece and that might come back to us. But you're still not waiting for it, because there is no talent out there. And then it's about us adapting. And the likes of Killian, Ian, Tommy Childs, Barry himself is nearly getting to a senior stage of it. Nasher, Denny, they show him the ropes, and the new fellas, and that's what's happening. And that's where the competition is coming. They're showing them the way, Matt, really, and they're helping to grow that talent, as are the coaches and stuff like that. But like the players themselves are doing a lot of it as well.
Killian, you have been through the entire roller coaster, Division 4 to Division 3 to Division 2, back down again to Division 4. How much of a benefit do you think that the years spent, even though the wins weren't coming in Division 2 and in Division 3, were to the members of this squad that survived from those days?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Like, this year there's been a big turnover again this year, so I don't even know off the top of my head how many would have been on that. As Jimmy listed out a couple of lads there, 7 or 8 lads that would have kind of been there the same 3 years. So I'm not really sure how much relevance for the entire squad, because there has been a big turnover again this year, and it's been very positive. And it's great to get those new lads in. There was a great freshness when we came back this year, and every now and again you need that as well, because I suppose you need the continuity. You need new lads stepping up to the plate, and you need I suppose the new lads come in and they have a positive attitude, and that can be really infectious, and it can really bring everything on another step, which has been great this year.
Lads, we've come to nearly 9 minutes into the conversation without mentioning a certain individual from the weekend. As we know, it's a team game. I know anyone will reiterate that, but James Naughton, I think, has found himself in the record books. Killian, he scored 424, and he scored what are we saying? What was it again? I'm even forgetting now. 412. Yeah. 412. It's an impressive tally. Now, I know a couple of those goals were neatly laid on by teammates, in fairness to him. But in fairness to James, Jimmy mentioned his exploits in the Wicklow game. He was quite good against Tip. I know I was at the game myself, and he's been steadily improving the league. So maybe it's no surprise that he struck gold at the weekend, and everything he touched. I don't know if your stats team have proved. I think everything he had a shot at goals was scored. Like it's phenomenal, and I know he made national headlines, which is great for someone now playing in Division 4, which isn't often the case. But like James, probably a newfound confidence this season, Killian. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, definitely. Like James is probably playing the best football he's ever played. Like he's absolutely flying. Like, and it's great to see him get the plaudits that he deserves, because he's a phenomenal player. And like if he was in any other county at times, you'd imagine that he would be making more headlines. But it's great to see him where we are down in Division 4, grab those headlines and grab the get the things like the player of the week and the team of the week, and it just promotes football in Limerick, and it promotes the Limerick football team, and it's great to see. And even in I'm teaching in Broadford, in the national school in Broadford, and he was all the talk this week. So you have young kids out in the yard now pretending to be James Naughton instead of Ronaldo and Salah and all the rest. Like, so it's it was great. It brought a lot of excitement, especially leading into this weekend. So yeah.
That's a great little anecdote. They're not pretending to be Killian Fahy, so just yet, no.
No. I was asked did I score, and I said I didn't, and they were kind of shaking their head at me in comparison to James's tally. So
your nose was out of joint then, Killian.
Yeah. No, so it's all James this week, which is great as well.
Yeah, Jimmy, just on the James
point there,
maybe.
Sorry, if I could come in
Go
there.
on,
It's believed that it's a national record. The previous record was held by Frankie Donnelly of Tyrone, who scored 4-11 against Fermanagh in the Lagan Cup in 1959.
57, Matt, I think.
Pardon?
57, I was told.
Don't tell me none of you are wrong for that.
I want to argue with you, Matt.
What matters 2 years between friends, Jimmy? But no, he was part of a breakthrough from Tyrone broke through for a first Ulster title in the mid 50s, and he won two Ulster medals with Tyrone, and he scored 4-11 against Fermanagh. It could be 57, Tom, in the Lagan Cup.
Yeah, it's impressive anyway to have surpassed that, and in fairness, he only kicked 1 2-pointer as well, so it's not like he kicked 6 or 7 of them to get to the total. Jimmy, just in terms of James and like I've noticed in the games, a lot of the forwards, you're really trying to exploit their athleticism. James is a phenomenal runner. I think if you looked at him, you'd say he could stack up well with being maybe a 400-meter runner in terms of his build. You have to use what you have at your disposal. Maybe Limerick doesn't have 6 or 7 lads who can kick 2-pointers at will, like maybe we've seen in some of the other counties in the higher divisions. So I suppose it's a case of trying to use that running game, use the athleticism, the fitness that these lads have built up over the last few seasons, and try and reap from that. Is that a fair observation to make?
I'm not so sure, Tom. Like, because what we're doing is working to principles of play. Like, yes, there's athleticism there, and that's within the squad. Like Emmett, James, like Tommy Childs in his day could kick a 2-pointer. Like, there's more within the squad. They probably don't get the space and freedom that it works out to be for the two boys. But at the same time, like, look, it's like everything. Things take time, and it builds a repertoire. Like I'd say Jamie Bainham could kick 1 too, you know what I mean? But this is something that's been learnt, you know what I mean? So, like, there's more within the squad. But you're right, like the athleticism. But when I say that, like, it's the work that Dylan Kinney and Conor Walker, the two boys that do SLC, but Dylan heads it up, like, and they do phenomenal work, like, with the boys, having them in peak condition. Like, I couldn't talk highly enough of Dylan and Conor, like, in fairness to them.
Yeah, Matt.
Jimmy, you're going to Croke Park. You should have no fears, certainly no fears of Wexford, because I thought on the day in McNeville Park, probably matched Wexford for probably 60 minutes almost, and probably faded a bit in the last 10 minutes, but shouldn't have any fears whatsoever of facing Wexford on Saturday in Croke Park. Now, I know that for the lads, a lot of the lads, it's going to be a first time in Croke Park, but having said that, there are a number of players that have experienced Croke Park. Is it 3-4 years ago against Louth in the Division 3 final?
Yeah. And look, we'll have no fears going up there, mate. You know, we're deservedly there. We'll deservedly take our place, and do you know what I mean? We'll respect them, but we won't fear them. Like, you know, because like we will play to win. Like, I mean, that's one thing we will do. And the lads do that without fear. And go back to that Wicklow game. Like, they dug it out and they kept digging in. So I mean, going Croke Park, yeah, you'll have that element of it, Matt. But like the likes of Ian, Killian himself, Cullen was on the bench there. Nasher has played once there. Like Pa Ranahan has experience there. Stephen Lucy has experience there. You know, there's a lot within the setup that has experience of being in Croke Park. Yes, it's new, and every Gaelic footballer and hurler wants to play in Croke Park. This is the lads' opportunity to enjoy it, number one, and put on a show for those that are watching. In the greatest stage, I suppose, like the theatre of dreams, Matt.
Absolutely, absolutely, and certainly there on merit. Killian, you know, all players dream of playing in Croke Park, and I suppose all players dream of being the captain of their county team in Croke Park. How is the captaincy resting on the shoulders of Killian Fahy?
Yeah, not too bad. Look, it's kind of, I've had one or two great mentors over the last couple of years and great role models in that regard, in terms of, you know, Donal and Ian. Over the last 7 or 8 years have been brilliant captains, and even before them, Shawnee Buckley from out here, from out my own club as well. You know, and down through the years in the club as well. So look, I've loads of good role models to draw experience from. And you know, it's great to still have Ian there as well to bounce things off from time to time. So yeah, look, I'm enjoying it. It's definitely an honour. It's an honour to captain your county, but to go out as well and captain them in Croke Park as well will be a massive honour. So yeah, look, it's a role I'm enjoying. So yeah, it's great.
And Killian, are you enjoying the new rules? I know we've often speak to managers after games. We don't always speak to the players, and I think we've heard a lot from managers up and down the country. And I'm not just saying Jimmy there. We've on the national media, you've heard a lot from managers. But as a player, how are you finding it? Is it unusual, maybe, as one example, to have to hand the ball back to your opponent if there's a foul?
Yeah, look, there's some bits are unusual, but like it's a matter of getting used to things, and things will become the norm as we get used to them. No, I'd be very positive in general about them. They've definitely made it better to watch. Even in terms of playing it, it's definitely more enjoyable to play. It's the game is more open, it's quicker, which is great. So no, I'd be very positive about it. And look, it promotes the I suppose the traditional skills of the game. You know, like even the high fielding at the weekend, and throughout the league, with Tommy Childs there and Darrow Hagan, like you definitely didn't see that amount of high fielding, you know, going back the last couple of years. And even in terms of, we mentioned James earlier, like it just gives the forwards like James and Emmett and Peter and Dara Shakru there, it gives them the chance to go out and express themselves and really show, I suppose, the talent that they have as well. So yeah, look, no, enjoyable to play in and enjoyable to watch. So it's been great.
Yeah, and you've put up some huge totals so far, and I'm sure you're obviously looking to continue that into HQ on Sunday. The Theatre of Dreams, as Mr. Lee there calls it. Jimmy, again, we're not a million miles away from Munster Championship. You've obviously Cork drawn in the first round. Do you feel like it's a bit of a punishment that you're going to a league final and then immediately turn around? I think you've already played 3 weeks in a row, am I correct in saying, and now you're going to be 4 and 5. So it's going to be testing for the lads physically, in terms of, you know, game on game. Obviously, the league has been a priority for you in the spring, but you know you're going to be running straight into to Cork then in a week later.
Yeah, look, as I said, the lads are in physically in good shape, Tom. I wouldn't class it as a punishment, to be fair about it. I think I think when you're in Division 3 and 4, a league final is where you want to be, and possibly in Division 2. But now, look, it is what it is. I mean, it's not ideal. Don't get me wrong. It's far from ideal. But they're the hand of cards we're dealt. They're the hand of cards we'll play. And as they say, when you're sitting down to play 45, you play them the best way you can. There is nothing like, yes, ideally, I would like them changed, Tom. I'd like to get an extra week. But what I like, I don't always get. So, look, we'll get on with it. We'll focus on this game. We'll dust ourselves off whatever way we have to, and then we'll focus on Cork.
Yeah, that's a fair
Jimmy,
point.
how important is it, your performance on Saturday, to feed into the Munster Championship game with Cork? Because like last year we troubled Cork for quite a while down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. So, like, how important is a performance and possibly a result against Wexford? How important is it for the following week?
Look, it's like everything, Matt. If things are going with you and it's rolling for you, it helps. But in saying all that, like I have a team of people around me. Like there's Michal, there's Evan, there is Per, there's Owen O'Hagan. They'll do the coaching. Marion is there to help the boys as well. To deal with what we're faced with, Matt. Do you know what I mean? In the sense that we'll try and dust ourselves off, pick ourselves back up, depending on what the result is. You know what I mean? So ideally, we'll be winning, and the train will keep rolling towards the next station, and that will be the ideal, Matt. And that's what we'll be hoping for. If it's the alternative, we'll deal with it and we'll address it on Saturday evening, Sunday, and Monday.
Going into the final, Killian, and it's Limerick are seeking a fourth title, Division 4 title in 15 years, which is probably gone under the radar a small bit in that you never hear of what the footballers win. How important is it for the footballers, to come out of the shadow of the hurlers, in plain language?
We're not too worried. Like, look, the hurling is separate. Like, they're a phenomenal team. Like, the achievements what they've achieved in the past, couple of years, 7 or 8 years, is absolutely phenomenal. But we're not comparing ourselves to them. Like, we're not trying to come out of their shadow or anything. We're just trying to be ourselves. We're just trying to be our own team, and like all we're looking at is, I suppose, getting better and improving and promoting football in Limerick, and I suppose getting us to a stage where we have, I suppose, children in schools, like I was saying there, wanting to be the likes of James Naughton. So Saturday isn't really about stepping out of any shadow. It's more about, can we put ourselves out there? Can we promote ourselves? Can we get children in Limerick tuning into TG Cahir at 5 o'clock on Saturday evening and watching and supporting and, picking up a football as much as they'd be picking up a hurley, So I don't think anybody's inside in our panel is thinking like that. Maybe there might be a perception on it from the outside, but we wouldn't be looking at it that way.
Just a final question from me, Tom, a brief question. Do you think that the change in the rules has made it more attractive and easier to entice young lads to start playing football?
I think so. Like, I think at an underage level, it mightn't change it too much. I definitely think as lads get to 17, 18, 19, that they'd be more kind of inclined to stay with it, because I suppose it's that age where the whole tactical side of things really would have kicked in. Like, I know in primary schools, like, you throw out a ball to the lads in 5th and 6th class and they're not worried about master or set defences or blanket defences or anything like that. They're just out kicking ball and they're having fun. I think, though, once it gets to keeping lads engaged at, that kind of age, 17, 18, 19, where they're picking sports, where they're choosing between soccer and football and hurling and basketball or rugby, like, I think that's really when you might see the benefit of this rules for for the younger kids.
Yeah, very good. Killian, we mentioned it a few times already, the squad, and maybe that you're obviously, Jimmy, trying to develop a deeper squad, and it's been very noticeable the last few games that the substitutes have made an impact in terms of, I suppose, keeping it fresh. In terms of, there's a lot of running now with these with keeping three back. The middle 8 or 9 have to really cover a lot of ground. So it is important to have a bit of depth there. You've certainly been able to use the bench quite well in the last few games, and it really has shown. And even maybe Waterford were still, I know it ended up being a big margin in the end, but Waterford were still kind of hanging around in that game. But certainly the fresh impetus off the bench, it made a big impact on Sunday and previously in other rounds as well.
Yeah, it's been massive. Like, look, the lads coming in off the bench have been brilliant. It's not easy coming in off the bench, and obviously everybody wants to be on the first 15, so it's it can be hard at times. But to be fair to the lads that have been coming in there, they've really put the shoulder to the wheel when they've come on, and there's always been a contribution to the scoring boards from the fellas that are coming on, so that's really important. And look, it's a 26-32 man game now. You need your full panel to get through a league. There's 36, 37, 38 lads there with us, so really you need everybody. It's you're covering more distance now in games, you're covering it at a higher speed, so there's more likelihood to pick up injuries. So you need those lads coming in. You need them coming in on the games, you need them coming in on the panel, and it's really important to have that depth, and that's something we've definitely that has been really positive this year, that we've used 25, 26 players throughout the league, and this is as deep a squad that I think I've ever been involved with in terms of Limerick. The competition for places is fierce, so it's that can only prove to be positive and beneficial going forward.
Yeah. Jimmy, I'll leave you on this one. 2020, your brother was the manager, and I think even a global pandemic couldn't stop him winning Division 4. So have you friendly banter about your experience with Limerick and his, or is he a sounding board, or how do you discuss football now? Did you both been in the same role?
I'm sure we do. Look, it's not different in any household, Tom, to be fair about it. But sure, look, Billy's there, and you'd often pick up the phone and ask him a question or two, depending, as is Joe. I'm sure the two girls probably be better at it than the three boys would be.
Very good, very good. Lads, I suppose for myself and Matt, we're wishing you the best anyway on Saturday evening, and hopefully a bit of silver back to Shannon's side will be a good way to end off the spring period, I suppose, of action. And hopefully then, as we say, then you'll roll, the train will roll nicely into the Gaelic grounds for the Munster quarter final with Cork. So we'll let you get off the training, and we're wishing you the best at the weekend.
Very best of luck, lad.
For the remainder of the season.
Very best.
All right, cheers lads. Thanks a million. Okay, thanks to Killian and indeed Jimmy for joining us. Matt,
it's fantastic to have the two lads in, and of course, to come into us when they were certainly in the middle of training, going to a training session, almost on the eve of the final was tremendous. But they're part of a success story. They're part of a fairy tale story, if you like. I know they were dismissing the 17 games, lost and all that sort of thing. And but these lads, Jimmy and Killian and the squad, they've turned it right around. And it would have been easy for Jimmy to walk away after last year, after being relegated, and saying, hell, 15 games without winning a football match, and what am I here for, that kind of thing. But he didn't. He stuck with it, and then there was an exodus of players for a variety of reasons. You had people going travelling, and you had the retirements of two long-term stalwarts like Donald O'Sullivan and Sean O'Dea, and you'd be saying to yourself, what the hell am I doing this? But he stuck with it, and as I said to him at the very outset there, he has brought in a number of young players, and there's a huge leap of faith with them. I'm talking about the like of Fikra Cotter, I'm talking about Matt McCarthy, I'm talking about Darragh O'Hagan, you know.
Emmett Richter seems like a veteran now at this stage.
Well,
after-
Emmett Richter seems like a you know, and you had the reinvention of Colin McSweeney.
The fullback,
You know,
yeah.
when he was asked to deputise at fullback. Now Colin was normally a halfback, wing back, you know, but he's such a good footballer that you know, he's so adaptable, and you had all those things coming into place, and Jimmy stuck with it, and like I'd be very fairly positive going to Croke Park, Tom. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Now they're facing Wexford, the only team in the country with an unbeaten record, and indeed a 100% record at that. But we've seen Wexford haven't really blown teams away. They've won some games comfortably, but that game in McNeville Park, Limerick were still finding their feet. I think
they were finding their feet,
and they were finding their. I think they were finding their best form in terms of starters and finishers and combinations around the pitch. And they've definitely since then Limerick have gone up a gear or two. There's no doubt about that.
They have, and for 60 minutes, as I put it to Jimmy there, Limerick were right in it. The Wexford got the last 4 points.
Yeah.
So we were there or thereabouts, you know, and I you know, I respect Wexford, of course. They're the only 100% team in the competition, but you're switching from league to knockout to one-off.
Yeah.
Totally different dynamic, Tom.
It is, and I'd say there's probably a lack of Wexford experience in Croke Park too as well.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about the Limerick lads who haven't played here, and I'd say Wexford are in a similar boat because, as we know, the panels in the Division 3s and 4s, they turn over a lot. It's no secret and no surprise at this stage. So Wexford, I'm pretty sure, in a similar situation. You mentioned that just to finally, I suppose,
Wexford are favourites, Tom. They have to be favourites.
Yeah, given their farmland, there is, but.
You know, favourites don't always win football or hurling matches.
No, they don't. We'll be talking about one in a minute, the hurlers, but a couple of them even in a minute. Just to put it at the end to the men's side of things, I suppose, just to you reiterate, and I know Jimmy said they weren't thinking about that winless run, but like where I think they turned the corner last year was the last 2 league games to a certain degree, but then in the Tailteann Cup they got 3 wins in a row. And that had to give belief. They beat Tipperary and Offaly in McNeville Park, and they beat London, I think, in between. Get to the quarter-final now. They lost to Sligo in a very poor performance. But like they were beating teams that they're at their level or in around their level. And I think that really pushed them, probably gave them belief coming into this season ahead.
I'm not 100% with you there, Tom, on a poor performance against Sligo, because last year Sligo were riding high, going very well.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. Well, I would call it.
Could have reached the Tailteann Cup final now.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is Sligo on the day Limerick didn't perform the way they had against Offaly and in London before.
I take your point on that, but
we're a bit wasteful on the day, you know, and we're kind of living off scraps. But Sligo definitely the deserving winners on that afternoon. But I think the 3 games that preceded that. Gave them certainly a new impetus heading into 2025. But hopefully, as you say, a 4th league, National Football League Division 4 title is just around the corner.
Yeah, but that's under the radar, Tom.
Yeah.
Because I hear people saying, "Sure, we win nothing in football." We've won 4 Division 4 titles in 15 years.
Well, we could have won 4. We're trying to win the 4th, yeah.
We're trying to win the 4th. We've won 3 and we've beaten in another final. Yeah, Division 3 final.
And beaten in Division 3 final, yeah.
And if you go back to 2003, then we were beaten in the Division 2 final.
Yeah.
By a late Westmeath smash and grab.
Right. So that did from the men's football. 5 p.m. start in Croke Park on Saturday afternoon. Limerick and Wexford. It'll be the first national title of the year. Will be up for grabs in terms of it's literally the first of the 4 finals. So we'll see how it comes out. Matt, just to mention, you were further down the N21 in Newcastle West for the ladies footballers. Unfortunately, you were hoping that we could get the victory here and it would maybe carry us into the final game, but unfortunately, a defeat, and I suppose it ends any hopes Limerick had of gaining promotion out of Division 3.
Yeah, but I came away with very mixed feelings, Tom. I came away with disappointment that they lost, and I came away then so happy that they had consolidated their position in Division 3. Like, 7 points, absolute safety. The nearest them at the moment below them is Carlow on 3. But they came up against a very physically strong and athletic Louth team. But they contributed in no small way, Tom, to their own downfall. The scoreline was 2-7 to 10 points, which would indicate 10 scores to 9. Now Debbie Murphy did get 9 points from frees, but she was just impeccable in her shooting from frees. And I can honestly say, Tom, that there wasn't an easy free in him. Right. There wasn't an easy free in him, but it gives you sort of an indication of the pressure that Limerick were putting on that Louth defence. But Louth, they got the goals, and it's an old cliche that goals win matches. We coughed up the first one. We should have cleared it, or we should have got it out of the danger area, and Rachel Leonard picked it up and buried it in the net. Then in the second half, Lucy White picked up a ball about 50-60 metres from the Limerick goal and side right through the middle and was allowed planted in the net. But after that, Tom, we really battled back. We were 6 points down. We brought it down to 3, and right at the death, Tom, right at the death, we had the most glorious chance of a goal. And we just fluffed our lines with the goal at our mercy, unfortunately. It would have forced a draw. And, I think on the balance of play, particularly, I think Limerick might have deserved to get something out of it. Yeah. Now, we've got to be mindful of, look at the season in its totality. Louth are in the same group as us in the championship. Now, that's going to be a huge game and a hugely important game in terms of the championship, because Sligo are in there as well. So, but I was very happy overall with the Limerick performance, and they have a couple of big games coming up now. They go to Cavan on Sunday to finish the league programme against Cavan, who are they're the table toppers, and I reckon they're definitely in the league final.
Right. So you think there's actually little at stake here?
There's nothing at stake other than to build momentum for the Munster B Championship, of which we are the holders.
Yeah, remind us that the Munster B is, I think you told me this the other day when we met, it's Kerry and Cork's development teams, I suppose you could call them.
Yes.
And Clare now.
Clare intermediate team.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, who I think should be playing senior.
Yeah, how did Clare play at the higher grade last year and they're down a grade this year?
That's above my pay grade now, Tom.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, look, I know you're disappointed maybe that the result didn't go the way last Sunday, but
I came away very disappointed, Tom. But I think I saw a lot of positives in it, and I saw a lot of things that can be worked on easily. And but disappointed. I'm disappointed anytime Limerick lose. But I was very disappointed for the girls, because I thought they really, really, really fought back now to a girl, Yeah. And it just didn't work out on the day. I was a bit disappointed and a bit worried, like that we were very reliant on Deborah Murphy for frees, but Louth gave away the frees.
Yeah, that's the thing. So someone had to win them at the same time.
That's the point. That's the point I'm making. And she kicked some very, very awkward frees, Tom. She's kicked some very, very difficult frees. Right. Deborah is as good a free taker as there is in the country at any level, I think.
Yeah, well, just to finish up on the ladies for now anyway, I suppose what you would say, if we rewind back to the 1st of January or whatever podcast we did on then, the aim would have had to have been to sort of stay in Division 3. Now, of course, as it progressed, we might have been thinking of a loftier ambitions, but you recall, was it 2018 or 19?
2017, we didn't win a game when we were in Division 3 last.
And took some poor beatings as well. It was they weren't competitive in a lot of those games. So they've been very competitive in every game. Probably feel they haven't got the points they deserve. So it augurs well for the championship ahead, because a lot of those teams are playing at the higher grade as well, so they're sharpened up hopefully.
I was thinking about it, the first 2 games against Down and Wexford, and like we ended up with nothing. We could easily have ended up with 3 or 4 points.
Winning a draw there would make a hell of a difference, wouldn't it?
The difference that would have made, like, to have taken you up to 11 points at this stage, and if you were on that type of a situation on 11 points going into the Louth game, you don't know what would have happened. But then there is the question, if promotion was to come our way this year,
is it too soon? Yeah, that's the thing.
Would we benefit from a period in Division 3, consolidate? We've consolidated now. Let's find our feet and see where it takes us. I sometimes worry a lot about the quick fire promotions that you're literally going up 2 levels, like so.
Yeah, easy come,
go up 1.
Easy come, easy go, if you know what I mean. As in, you could go up too quick, and it might could fall apart quite quickly. But look, I think mission accomplished overall for the league, and hopefully they can finish it out with a victory on the road against Cavan at the weekend. Matt, just to stay on football, a final item for this week, I suppose, is the men's under-20s footballers were in action in Milltown Malbay on Saturday, and we knew a victory or possibly a draw would see Limerick through to the phase 2 part of the Munster under-20 championship, but unfortunately I think they trailed from very early on, and were, as we know, in Milltown Malbay there's nearly always a win straight down the field, and Limerick unable to claw it back in the second half. Did he get close, I think, right down the stretch, but just couldn't pull it level. And I think I'm going to say unfortunately, because we had maybe hoped they could get through. Unfortunately, they're actually heading for that Munster B final again.
Yeah, why say unfortunately that you're facing for a B final, but it means that you're out of the A competition. That's the unfortunate part about it. And there's no doubt at all about it that Limerick would have benefited from games against Cork and Kerry and another game against Tipperary. No doubt whatsoever about it. And they started poorly in 2 games and lost them.
Yeah,
they started strongly in 1 game and won it. That
it can be that simple sometimes, can't it?
Yeah, that would sum it up, like, because they went down to Waterford and to Dungarvan GA grounds now, as distinct from Fahy Field in Dungarvan.
Over the wall nearly, yeah.
And they went down there on the back of a heavy defeat to Tipperary, and against the Waterford side, who were really on a high, oozing with confidence after going to Dunbeg and beating Clare. So, like, it looked like a very, very difficult, task, but they came out of it with a good result and a very good win to put them in the position that they could have made it to the second phase. But now they have to face. It's on next Tuesday night. It's the Munster B final for the John Kearns Cup. The late John Kearns, the former Cork goalkeeper. It is on in Mallow at 7:00 on Tuesday night. It's a repeat of last year's John Kearns Cup final. Last year was the first year, as you will remember, that we had the under-21 championship played in the format that it is played now. Prior to that, we had a series of the John Kearns Cup, the Liam O'Connor Cup, and all those pre-season. But now the pre-season is gone, and we have far more competitive and teams getting much better chance. So it's on at 7:00 on Tuesday night, and Limerick will be hoping to repeat their victory over Waterford. They beat Waterford by a single point in the group stages last year in Ballygran. They beat them double scores in the John Kearns Cup final in Mallow. And you'd be hoping, Tom, that they might, well, at least that they'll win it. I'm not saying double scores, but that they'll win it. But I go back to last year. Last year's final left a very sour taste in my mouth, Tom. And I'm bringing up this old chestnut again.
Emmett Richter, I think is, yeah.
Emmett Richter was sitting above in the stand.
He was only marginally closer to playing than you and I were, because we were about 5 rows behind him. He was only fractionally better placed than we were, and we were not involved at all, if you know what I mean.
But the asinine rule that was there at the time about this week, and now it's changed to 60 hours, which he would have been okay. I was delighted we won, but as I said, it was tempered because of that reason. Because here is a lad, and we spoke about him earlier in the context of the league, and who's a real huge bright prospect, and to think that he was denied of playing with his peers on that occasion by.
Yeah, well, he ended up
out of the association.
Yeah, he ended up playing the All-Ireland semi-final against Westmeath, and he also ended up with a Tailteann Cup All-Star. So, he was just stopped short of playing in a Munster final. That Limerick football at any level, we're not taking them for granted. So it's a shame, but hopefully all will go well at Mallow next week, and Limerick then, I suppose, can get the victory and bring themselves back into that All-Ireland series. That has to be the plan for John O'Grady and co. Okay, Matt, plenty there on football, and hopefully you enjoyed the discussion with the lads earlier in the piece. Matt, moving to hurling, we'll come to the 20s in a second, because there's a good news story that maybe not too many had predicted, but the Limerick senior hurlers rounded out the Alliance Hurling League 1A, finishing third from bottom because of a third defeat in their last 4 games, which some people are very worried about. But a 7-point loss at the Gaelic grounds to Wexford. Matt, maybe you and I we're a bit greedy. We're so used to great days. We were probably feeling Saturday evening was a bit of an evening wasted in the Gaelic grounds. It was a game that lacked intensity, it lacked quality. Certainly from Limerick, probably both sides really, but definitely from Limerick, it didn't have the fluidity that we're used to at Limerick. Didn't have the cohesion that we're used to in their play. It was a frustrating evening, I think, for anyone connected to following this Limerick team. And just form line's not great for a number of players and stuff, as they round out the league. But they're heading into a 4-week block now, I suppose, to get everything right for Easter Sunday and Thurles.
Well, Tom, it was one of those games when you were asking yourself, what did I do in a past life, or what sins did I commit in a past life? We
probably have 4 or 5 a year, do we, across the various codes and grades?
We had to suffer this, it was a hugely disappointing performance, Tom, and I suppose it's a disappointing culmination to the league for Limerick in so many ways, because we had a very flat performance against Clare. Then we had a very, very good performance against Galway, flat performance against Kilkenny for the first half, and again in the last 10 minutes, and a totally flat performance altogether against Wexford. And as you say, the characteristics and the traits that have marked this Limerick team out as being special, they were all absent last Saturday evening for some reason. Now, I know John Kiley has problems at the moment with injuries, and he made the point after the game, that he names a team and wins that Thursday night, and suddenly there's 1 or 2 gone, and that's the second week in a row that he has named a team, and he is not into the business of doing dummy teams, and we've seen that over the years, Tom.
Yeah.
He lost Barry Murphy and who the first day against Kilkenny?
Barry Murphy and who was it? Was it Gerard Hegarty?
Gerard Hegarty. He lost David Reedy and Declan Hannon last night.
Yeah, it was David Reedy was ill. I think John explained after, so that's not it's not a major issue. It's just a short-term illness. Declan appears to have got a knock or a bang or something, and just wasn't to be risked. The
upshot of it now, Tom, is that Declan Hannon hasn't had any game time.
That'd be the concern if you're looking at Declan Hannon going to feature in 4 weeks' time, because he hasn't played a minute of hurling competitively, and he didn't play in the challenge matches at the start of the year either. So that were the ones that we were privy to, So that is a concern, and he's, as we know, is a great hurler and all that, but nothing beats matches to get yourself up to speed, because as we know, it's going to go up to another level, isn't it? The whole thing.
Absolutely, Tom. But one huge positive out of last Saturday night was the performance and the form of Darragh O'Donovan.
Yeah.
It was like as if he had never been away, and those great performances that he put on with Doon during the county championship, right up to the county final. It was all there to be seen on last Saturday night. Like, he put in a huge shift for 60 minutes for somebody that had been away from the county arena for so long. And that's a huge positive. But like, when you look at the team, you had Mikey Casey going off injured again. Like, you had no Kyle Hayes, no Willem O'Donoghue, no Peter Casey. Like, you can name them. Like, it's no Dan Morrissey.
Yeah. Now, I suppose just to clarify a few of those, Mike Casey appears to be just a dead leg on the evening. He lasted 25 minutes. It was just a clash, a completely accidental clash off the ball. Seems to be okay, and hopefully it's just a short run thing. I think in the case of Darragh O'Donovan, Matt, just to mention, he hadn't started a game for Limerick, I think, since the 23 All-Ireland final, which, first of all, is a long time ago. It definitely seems a long time ago. He only played once last year for Limerick. That was the All-Ireland semi-final, when he played maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes or thereabouts. And he hadn't played our game of hurling in the public sphere anyway since the county final. Sorry, since the Munster Club game of Ballygunner, which would have been in the first week in November. So I mean, that's nearly 5 months. And you know, as you say, it was one of the brighter lights on an evening where.
Oh, you know, it says so much about the guy and the man that he is. You know that he obviously had to work himself very hard to get to where he was for the farm. But it's John Kiley. Cathal O'Neill was another one that was missing now. John Kiley must be absolutely delighted with the performance, and he did say it afterwards that there was, he was extremely pleased with what he got from Dara. But look, they'll go away for a month, Tom. I'm not joining in the debate of will they, won't they. But John Kiley has a record over the years of all the focus being on the first round of the Munster Championship.
Yeah. No, I off the top of my head, that record, they lost to Cork in 19, and other than that, I think they've won the opener in every other season, including in 2018 against Tipperary as well. So, they have been able to get it right more often than not. So I suppose we must trust the process here.
We trust John. We trust his management team, and above all, we trust the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So there was what did we say? Nearly 5,000 in the two Gaelic grounds for that. I suppose perceived dead rubber, and it means Limerick finished the league with 2 wins, a draw, and 3 defeats. You're going to win there. We haven't mentioned Wexford at all. Like, they brought huge intensity and work rate to the game. Yeah,
and we were unable to match it on the evening for whatever reason. But they really wanted to go out of the division, and they are relegated, as we know, and they were relegated before they came to the Gaelic grounds. But they really wanted to go out on a high, and I suppose condemn the All-Ireland champions to bottom spot. In the group.
And there's just a bit of pride in that too. I'd say if you told someone from Wexford, Matt, before the league started that they would beat Limerick, the Munster champions, and they would beat Clare, the All-Ireland champions, I said, Jesus, we could be in a chance of winning the league if those two results were in the back pocket. Both away from Wexford Park, but unfortunately, they were the only 2 results they got, and I suppose Limerick had already got to 5 points well before this game, so there was, as you say, it was all done and dusted. Just we'll touch briefly. I know we're Limerick orientated, but a sellout National Hurling League doubleheader, Waterford against Offaly, as the curtain raiser to Tip against Cork at Super Value Park Equive. There's plenty of people Lee side will be thrilled at this. I'd say maybe 80 or 90% of the people at the game will probably be rooting for Cork. But it is great for the game that we have a sellout league final, because there's times where those league finals have been kind of just so in terms of attendances, but there's a huge
like the whole league being, the integrity of the league being questioned year in, year out, and all that sort of thing. But it's absolutely fantastic. But what a double header it is, Tom.
Watford and Offaly is intriguing in its own right.
And Tip and Cork, once you mention Tip and Cork, it's a license to print money, but it'll tell you the desire and the thirst that there is in Cork to win a national title. They haven't won a national title since they won the All-Ireland in 2005.
Hmm.
They haven't won. They haven't won the National League since Dermot O'Sullivan captained them to victory in 1998, which is 27 years ago, which is a lifetime in Cork. And incredibly, Tom, it's the first Cork Tipperary meeting in the National League since 1959-60.
I
All
wasn't
of
at that one now.
65 years.
Yeah.
Tony Wall captained them, Tipperary, to win the National League in the old athletic grounds in Cork, 2-15 to 3-8 in 1959-1960.
Right. Yeah.
I wasn't at the game, but I remember it.
Right. Okay. Very good. Yeah. It's phenomenal, really, when you think of it, because first of all, the depth of hurling counties that would be in that space is not the broadest, as we know, and obviously those two teams at various times would have been, forerunners in terms of getting to a league final. So it's incredible, really, that they haven't met in the interim period.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. But from a league point of view and from the integrity of the league point of view, it's a dream final.
Yeah.
And it's a dream. We know where Cork are on the stage of development, and they're at the stage of development now, Tom, where they need to put silverware on the table.
Yeah. No. 2018 was the last trophy. You mentioned the national titles. The last, Munster leagues aside, it was the Munster Senior Hurling Championship they won in 18, and they didn't back it up. Then obviously Limerick beat them in the All-Ireland semi-final.
That's not a national title.
Oh, I know, but in terms of like the big title, the big three titles that you can win, like they have fallen. They haven't been able to pick up anything since 18.
It's an opportunity to embellish the development and the progress they have made by putting silverware on the table. For Liam Cahill, not as far down the road in the development of his team.
Yeah.
But it's a real chance to see exactly if the redevelopment of his team and the revival of Tipperary is for real.
Yeah, that's it. And obviously,
I think it's going to be a massive final. It's going to be a fantastic final.
Yeah, I think so too.
Sell out. It's memorable. I think what we'll see between the White Lions on Sunday week will be absolutely memorable as well.
Yeah, and I think in terms of Cork, I think the biggest challenge for Cork, if they win this game and maybe potentially win it well. Now I don't know if they will or not, but if they do win this, the biggest challenge for Cork then heading into the championship is to keep a lid on things, because the expectation is already there, and I think the expectation will grow even more if they put Tipperary to the sword. So it's going to be a very, very interesting next month, starting with that league final in 10 days' time.
And a little subplot to it also, of course, is that Tipperary have already beaten them in the league.
Yeah, the only team to do so, of course, as well. Yeah, although Limerick felt they had enough to beat Cork, but snatched it to death. Okay, the 20s, Matt, Limerick under 20s hurlers. We were in Thurles on Tuesday night, and far from the most vintage game of hurling we will see, but I can tell you 10 out of 10 for Limerick in terms of endeavour, in terms of hooking, blocking, tackling, everything you want from your team. The basics that become accustomed to. A star-studded Tipperary team, I think you mentioned at the start. Darragh McCarthy with 11 points, obviously a Tipperary senior. I think man of the match and is at 3 National League games already. So, he was leading them, but Limerick, to a man, stood up to this task. And Mark O'Brien pounced 58 minutes on the clock, dribbling ball into the bottom corner, and Limerick win by 2 points. A very memorable win in Thurles.
Yeah, put it into context, Tom. 13 of the Tipperary team that were beaten in last year's All-Ireland final by Offaly. Arno Donoghue, Sam O'Farrell, Conor Martin, Oisin O'Donoghue, Darragh McCarthy. All who have got considerable minutes during the current National Hurling League and who will be in the Tipperary panel that would be going down to the league final that we spoke about a few minutes ago. It was, if ever a team went into the lines then, it was Limerick.
Yeah.
But Tom, their performance was just simply off the charts. From 1 to 15, the work rate and the way that they took their opportunities, it was so heartening, Tom, because we went into the game, it was the first real test, because by any benchmark, Tom, or by any yardstick, last year's Munster underage competition for Limerick was one to forget.
Absolutely, yeah.
We
Had
we
we
just,
one win in the between the minor and the
yeah,
20s?
one win. We got it against Waterford by a single point in Mick Neville Park in the final round of the under-20 championship. You know,
Yeah.
but like it would be very, very unfair of you or me to single out anybody. But everybody from 1 to 15 that started, and those that came off the bench, you made the point, Tommy. You made the point in Thurles, and I know you were blowing your head off over Barry Brown being involved in it, but yeah.
But it was two subs.
Barry Adams supplying the scoring pass to Mark O'Brien, two players that had came off the bench, Tom.
Yeah.
What greater impact could you look for?
Yeah, and we looked like, but like you and me were in the press box before the game. We were chatting and like, Jesus, it's in Tipperary. Everyone's thinking Tipperary will walk this. And I looked at the Limerick team, and I looked at the forwards in particular now. And I'm not saying the backs are weak either, because there's plenty of strength there. But I looked at the forwards and I said, Robert LaFarle, brilliant in the senior championship last year. Hugh Flanagan in with the seniors. Donald Coughlin has been thereabouts with senior last year, yeah. Exactly, yeah. Tyke Body, we know all about his accuracy in terms of shooting, and he proved it on the night. Rory O'Connor, a great target man inside. And then Fintan Fitzgerald, very accurate free taker, very accurate player with Mungo St. Paul's. Like I said, geez, those six forwards have a great chance. And lo and behold, it is,
Remember Tyke Body's 2 points before half-time, 2 in a minute?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it was McCarthy at one and then Body at the other, like, and it was, it was brilliant stuff. Like, but again, you don't like singling out people, but it was a John Murray made a block about 30 seconds before halftime. Now it was the 65 was put over by McCarthy, which leveled it. But I was like, oh, there's a goal, because the Tipperary, as the corner forward, wasn't it, raced through what's his name, Senan Butler. Out of nowhere, John Murray, Patrick Swell comes flying and blocks the ball out for 65 when the net was just waiting for the net to ripple, like, but. Those were the moments that Limerick delivered that changed the results,
But we had a player that I've been gobsmacked by in the Limerick Championship last year, in the Limerick Senior Hurling Championship, in the Limerick Under-20 Hurling Championship final, and absolutely, totally gobsmacked altogether after last Saturday or last Tuesday evening was Matthew Fitzgerald.
Oh yeah, what about that goal?
Remember, in the first minute, he went down along the left, cut in, and was about to pull the trigger when Podge the Wire came across and knocked it out for a 65.
Yeah,
he did the very same thing in the second half, but it ended in the net.
Yeah, it was a great run. Yeah,
great run and a great goal, great finish, great great player in the making. But having said that, look, we started out saying we weren't going to single out individuals, but like it's impossible not to. Hugh Flanagan was unerring from frees.
Yeah, he scored that 65 you mentioned there that they got early on, and that set the tone then that Limerick were here to play, and they were here to.
Another one then shortly afterwards. Fintan Fitzgerald was the captain, played a captain's role, you see. The type of form that he showed for Mungret last year, he carried it over, and has a huge future. Look, Tom, it was a great night for Limerick Hurling now, an absolutely great night. And as you know, you and I spoke with Evan Loftus afterwards, but he's being very cautious. Like, in a nutshell, he's saying one swallow doesn't make a summer.
Yeah, took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, because 2 points will not be enough to get you out of the group. We know that.
That was the tone of his remarks to us. So look, but it's a fantastic start. Now, quite honestly, I didn't honestly think that we were going to beat Tipperary. I'll be honest.
Yeah. I don't know. I had some sort of sense that there was a bit of overconfidence with Tipperary, and it was just maybe that was feeding in. These are young players as well, Matt. We mustn't forget. Like, and they can sometimes buy into that. That we expected. This is only Limerick. Yeah. Limerick didn't go well at minor the last couple of years. Didn't go well at Limerick bought none of it. Like,
I've noticed as the years have gone on, that the correlation between minor 3 years before under 20 is less and less and less. It's becoming less and less of a guide.
Yeah, I looked at the Limerick team that played in that minor. They played in the minor quarter final in Kilmallock 3 years ago, and I think on the panel the other night was probably 6 or 7, maybe 8 or 9 in total, but like very like players playing in different positions, players that weren't even on the panel then are on the panel now, and there's even a lot of these guys, the likes of Robbie O'Farrell, are from the year below, so he's under 19, like, you know.
Yeah,
so
that's what people tend to forget, is that there are
you get the
three minor teams feeding into one under 20 team.
That's it. You have to blend it, you know, and like, you know, I suppose you have to go back to the higher profile examples, like Cian Lynch playing minor or playing 20s when he was still minor, like, and we've had loads of examples down the years of lads playing up. Aaron Gillan was another one who played, you know, maybe when he was still under 19, he would have played under 21, you know, as it was at the time. So that's the thing. Yeah, you're blending 3 teams together, trying to get the best balance of the experienced lads, the bigger lads, and maybe the skillful lads coming through. So so that's the start. And Limerick aren't in action again, Matt, till round 3, so the table will look very different again by the time they go to Waterford in round 3.
They have drawn in the meantime.
Yeah, and no shortage of red cards in that one as well. 3 red cards in the last 20 minutes. So Limerick starting with 2 away games. If they could get another win away to Waterford, we don't know what Waterford are like just yet. Obviously, they haven't lined out. So if they could get a second win there, it would give them a real chance of progression.
And the other 2 games are at home in McNeville Park.
Yeah. So look, we won't get ahead of ourselves, but it'd be great to pick up another point or 2 on the road.
Before we go from the under 20, Tom, 2 gentlemen will lacerate me if I don't give them a mention, and you have a fair idea who they are. I was in the exalted company of the captains of the last 2 winning All-Ireland C Colleges Championship.
Mr. Fitzgibbon and Mr. Yeah, go on, sorry, Shane Fitzgibbon, and
who was joint captain of Sculpole last year with Christian O'Gorman, and Dermot Lyons, who captained SMI this year. And you know, I was chatting with him before the game, and they put it to me, I suppose we're going to get a mention on the podcast.
There we go, lads.
So,
it only took
lads.
Yeah, just over the hour.
Shane was one of the players was out injured with on Tuesday night, you know, but he's hoping to be back anyway for the next day, you know.
Yeah, hopefully the squad. Yeah, very good. Yeah, no, it is an impressive squad when you actually go down to the nuts and bolts of it. When
you go down and see the like of those players in it, you know, like Dermot Lyons, like we didn't have to see him strutty stuff, would say, for SMI in the All-Ireland Championship to know how good a player he was in that he was on the Newcastle West Premier Intermediate team last year.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and the 2 of them will be playing against each other now at a level in 2025. So we'll watch that one.
Senior against each other now. So
very good indeed.
That's one that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think that's it for hurling. Although, sorry, Matt, to mention the minors are in action on Friday evening. Cork are coming. The panel release there, I don't have it to hand, do I? But nevertheless,
the team is actually released.
That's what I'm saying. Sorry, the team is released.
Yeah, there are 4 from last year.
Right.
I'm just trying to think of there is Paul Murphy, who's vice captain from last year. Rory Handley, Cahill Denny, who was the goalkeeper last year, is full forward this time. And is he Dan Sheehan? He's Sheehan from the Piercy, who I thought was very good last year and will definitely be, one of the players to look out for this year.
Danny Sheehan is down as in the team list, but playing at half forward tomorrow evening.
Half forward, he's named at number 10. So there's those 4 carry over. But I was told by somebody in the know of what's happening in the underage structure around the province and indeed around the country, that Cork are supposed to have the team of all the talents.
Right, okay. Well, before, we're not going to talk about the Cork team, right?
No, we're not going to talk about them. No, we're not going to talk about teams of all the talents, because we know what we're able to do with teams of all the talents after Tuesday night.
Yeah, can I put it to you as well, Matt? Limerick have Killian Begley, who's son of Brian. There is another one. There's another couple of connections there as well, isn't there? They have. He's on the. He's not. I don't think he's on the panel for the week. Ollie Moran's son. His first name is escaping me. He's also. I just have it here. 1 second now. There's plenty of connections to the previous generations, as it were. So David Moran, of Ahan, is son of Ollie. And then and we've Ryan Foley starting in midfield. He'll be a nephew of Brian Begley as well. So Brian Begley has a son and indeed a nephew lining out for Limerick. Like, so it's it's great to see the connections from previous generations. John Murray is on the panel as well. He's, I'm told, is a grandnephew of the former referee Terence Murray of the Patrick's Well as well. Like, so it's good little connections there around the place. And I'm sure there's probably one or two others I'm not fully aware of, but they're the ones I was made aware of this afternoon. So it's intriguing.
Thomas, if you'll allow me to be parochial for a minute, there are two from Glenrue.
These are going well, Matty.
My own beloved Glenrue. 3 on the panel last year.
Yeah. I know.
Cathal Denny was in goals last year. He's full forward. Kyle McCarthy is on this year at wing back, and Kyle was captain of the Limerick under-16 team that shared the Eugene Carey Cup with Galway last year. So, we're extremely proud here in Glenrue of our two players, Tom.
Yeah, and there's a good spread of clubs, as there seems to be. Like I see Croke Manister there, Ballybricken, St. Kieran's, Glenrue, obviously Castletown, Ballygrand, the Piercey are strongly enough represented.
Strong representation from the Piercey,
Yeah, Patrick's Well, Kildare, Pallaskenry, Crewe, Maru Boher, so and that's just the lads that are in the 24. And of course, I was only thinking about this today. Donal O'Grady is the manager of the team replacing Shane Dowling for this season, and Jody Hannon, brother of Declan, is one of the selectors as well. So, it's
Tom Murphy from Doon is there as well. I think Brian
Sexton. Yeah. So they're in good hands. I think it's fair to say, and hopefully they can put in a performance at the least anyway against Cork at the Gaelic grounds on Friday evening, a 7 p.m. start, and hopefully, a better season, I suppose, for the minors this year on. And I think the panel overall, Matt, is quite a young one. They have a lot of under-16s on it.
Yeah, there's a bit of expectation surrounding the panel, and maybe with a certain amount, with no little amount, I'd say, Tom, of justification. So I'm certainly looking forward to it tomorrow evening, because I think Limerick will give a very good account of themselves.
Yeah, okay. And so it's the first round of the round robin. So
I'm stopping short of saying they'll win, for the simple reason that I'm totally ignorant of what the Cork team is, other than that one little nugget of information that I got. Apparently they beat everybody in challenge matches.
Oh, right.
So did Tipperary under 20s.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's look, it's all about the competitive stuff, and it's the first of 4 games for Limerick. So we'll keep an eye on it as the weeks progress, and hopefully a winning start at the Gaelic ground, 7 p.m. throw-in tomorrow evening, which is Friday. Okay, Matt, Camogie, have we any update in the world of Camogie this week, or is
we're waiting for the minor semi-final, and
we don't know the pairing so yet, do we?
No. You have I can tell you the 4 teams that's in it, but
Galway, is it Wexford?
Tipperary and Wexford.
Yeah.
I think
so we're just waiting.
It's Kilkenny and Galway, Tipperary and Wexford. They are the quarter final pairings, but they should emerge over the weekend. Now we had the game against Westmeath on Saturday, Tom.
Right.
The final round of the league, and I thought Limerick did very, very well. Like, you'd be expecting to beat Westmeath. No, there's no doubt whatsoever about that.
Yeah. Put
that to bed immediately, but it was the manner in which they did it. I saw an awful lot of good things about him, Tom. Right. Joe has shuffled his pack, as and he'll openly admit that, because, like, if you lose 14 players at the start of the season, like, you're building from scratch. And I think he got some very good performances in there, like, and I was particularly delighted, Tom. The Adair venue is a fantastic venue. Absolutely.
Yeah, superb pitch, actually, first of all. Mind the venue, superb pitch.
Superb facilities there. And I was absolutely delighted to see Caoimhe Costello leading Limerick out on her own pitch. I'd say, it's certainly the first time as captain anyway, but I'd say probably the first time she played with Limerick senior camogie. And by God, she didn't let us down. She got a goal in 9 points. like I was very happy overall with what I thought was the Limerick performance. As I say, like Joe's he's got to shuffle the pack over the last couple of games. You know, and
using a lot of subs as well in the games just to give people valuable experience, you know.
Give people the minutes, you know, and like I came away happy with it, Tom. Now look, we have a huge challenge in the championship. Make no mistake at all about that. Cork, Tipperary, Clare and Wexford, you know. Massive. And you know, we have a huge game in the Munster Championship. My understanding at the moment, Tom, is that the Munster Championship game with Tipperary is going to be the curtain raiser to the senior hurling game with Tipperary in the Munster Championship.
Right, so that's Sunday the 20th.
I'm hearing that is the fixture, so we just got to wait and see if that's how it pans out. But look, Tom, there are green shoots there, no question about it. And like a lot of work has been put into them during the year. You know, you basically had to find new players, and you had to find new frontline players. And I think Joe has done a decent job in trying to get them to where they are.
Yeah,
you know,
very good.
Like the win against Down in the first round, you know, was a sort of a safety valve, you know, especially with Westmeath going so poorly. And look, I don't think relegation from the league was ever on. You know, now the championship is going to be very, very difficult. Cork in the first round away from home. I don't know why we're away from home for everything. We're away from home again in the ladies' football and Munster B Championship. We're away to Clare. I'd say does anybody in Clare know the way to Limerick? I'm just asking.
For ladies' football, anyway, I don't think so.
Well,
I don't think I've ever.
You know, we're going there in the minor football, and we're going there in the under 20. We've gone there in the under 20 football. You know, we'll send them a map for the game for the under 20 hurling.
Yeah. Well, the Ennis Road, like, you know, which leads to Clare, like they should just use that anyway. First of all, to get into the county, and then we'll see where we're going after that. But
we'll redirect them then to McNeville Park.
Yeah. Just to put a pin on the Camogie, the new Munster under 23 competition.
Yes, Tom.
Limerick beaten 221-17 by Clare, and again away in Clare. It was in Kilnamona. And curiously, I know I don't have an awful lot in the match, but curiously both teams decided to wear white jersey. I don't know who saw sense in that, but nevertheless they did. But a disappointing start for Limerick in the 23s. Obviously there's a group stage to come in the All-Ireland series, but that was the Munster iteration of it, and Limerick much second best.
Probably taking that cue from Munster Rugby, who wore a kind of a sky blue against Glasgow. Like their own red would have been a greater contrast. But it was a difficult outing. Now Clare fielded six of their senior team, including Iai Zan-Spillane.
Zian Spillane, I think it's pronounced. She was involved at UL. She's
their chief scorer. She was chief scorer for the seniors, and she's by extension chief scorer for the under 23s. Limerick fielded none of their under 16, none other than of their under 20, of their senior players, other than Kate O'Connor.
Right.
And there's quite a few that are going to be available for under 23. But guess what, Tom? They won't be able to play because the senior and under 23 matches are on the same weekends.
Oh yeah. We flagged that a few weeks ago, didn't we? As I said.
And now that there are moves afoot, I think, to get headquarters to see common sense, you know, and give the competition some bit of a chance. Yeah. Like it's really degrading the competition if that's what you're having.
Well, your best players, lo and behold, Matt, will be playing seniors. So, like, if they can't play with the 23s, then your 23s are automatically weaker. Like, you know, it doesn't matter.
Like there was six of the Clare team. No, we didn't have any, but we would definitely have six. When you think of the like of Donna Kinney and Laura Southern and all these girls, and they're all under 23. Like.
Yeah, you know? I know it's a curious one, but look, we'll see what comes up with the fixtures.
Who's the manager of the 23 team? I was talking with him on Saturday, and he was saying that there are moves afoot, to try and get the competition rescheduled and
Okay.
give it some bit of status.
Yeah.
You
They
know,
might as well have just left it. They might as well have just left it a junior if they were going to do this with it.
yeah, absolutely. We're coming on here week after week after week, whinging about Camogie structures and with justification, Tom. I'd make no apology for it.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. You bring in a new competition and you link it up with the senior competition, and there's usually a turnover of a carryover of 5 or 6 players. Each county will be in the same position. Give the competition a chance.
Yeah, what I would say in terms of ladies sports, it's been proven in studies that they make their adult vow earlier. The rules allow it, of course, as well, but the players break through earlier. But they also finish earlier. So I mean, like, having an under 23 grade is fine, but if you think of it, I wouldn't have numbers on it now, but like there will not be too many ladies over the age of maybe 27 or 8 playing intercounty. So automatically you have a huge overlap between your under 23s and a senior team, like, because it's just the way it is, with life and all the rest of it in college and everything. So
like, Camogie Association introduced this under 23 competition, and in my opinion they got the format dead right, in that you have the top teams playing in one group, you have Limerick playing in their second group with Wexford, Clare and Dublin. Counties of their own. It's properly graded. But why undo it by scheduling it with the senior championship?
Yeah, that's the curious part of it. Okay, Matt, AOB, any other business at this time of the evening after 80 odd minutes of chat?
No,
we're well covered. Okay, well,
a sore throat from yapping, Tom.
Oh yeah, well, there's nothing would stop us, Matt. But anyway, we're looking forward to the weekend ahead anyway, mainly the footballers, of course, heading for Croke Park. 5 p.m, as I said, is the start for that one. Do tune in if you can't make it. It's on live on both Live 95 FM radio locally, and will be also live on TG Car for those able to sit down and